In a crowded courthouse lobby, a deputy forces a mother to pour out her breast milk, spilling it on the floor. A young attorney steps in, risks being written up and misses a hearing, but gets the milk through and guides the mother to a dingy lactation room. Quiet changes follow, and the system bends a little without fanfare. Before we get started, tap like, share, and subscribe to join the journey. And tell me, where in the world are you watching? Drop your country below. I love seeing the global trail of these stories. The deputy tipped the bottle. A clear stream splashed onto the rubber mat under the table. The woman flinched, one hand on a beat-up stroller, the other snatching too late at the bottle in his grip. "Please, please, that's for my baby," she said. The toddler in the stroller kicked and started crying, small boots thumping the tray. The smell hit quick, warm, and sweet, cut by bleach. People in the security line looked down at their phones, at their shoes. "No liquids over 2 ounces, ma'am. That's the rule," the deputy said. He dumped the rest into a grey bin and set the empty bottle on its side. It rolled in a slow circle and clacked to a stop. Mara saw it from 3 people back. She had a file folder under her arm, badge clipped to her blazer pocket, hair pulled into a half-stuck bun that was already coming loose. Division 12 in 8 minutes. If she missed the call for Chan, he'd get remanded. She'd been told twice this week to stop making waves. "Keep your head down," her supervisor had said, tapping a spreadsheet. "Budgets are ugly. Don't give anyone a reason." The woman clutched a cheap orange cooler that had a cracked hinge and a faded sticker of a cartoon whale. There were 3 more bottles inside on ice. The deputy reached and took the cooler by the handle. "If it's liquid, it stays," he said, swinging it toward the trash barrel like it weighed nothing. "Wait." The word left Mara before her brain caught it. She stepped out of line. Her briefcase swung and hit her shin. She didn't feel it. The deputy looked up, eyes tired and a little red. Mid-40s. Square face, thinning hair, buzzed tight. He didn't seem cruel. He seemed wiped out. But he still had the cooler in his hand, and milk was on the floor. "Ma'am, please return to the line," he said. "You're obstructing." "It's breast milk," the woman said, voice thin. She rubbed the toddler's shoulder with quick, shaky pats. "He can't take formula." The baby, Mara, set her folder on the table, on top of a tray of car keys and a belt someone had dropped. "Breast milk is a medical item," she said. "It's exempt. County policy. Section 714. Call your supervisor." The numbers popped into the air before she realized she wasn't totally sure about them. She knew there was an email. Something about accommodations. She'd read it at her desk in a half-daze eating stale crackers. A guy in a suit behind Mara huffed and checked his watch so hard it looked like he wanted to rip the band off. The metal detector beeped every time someone went through, and the beep settled under everything like a nag. "Some of us have real jobs," the guy muttered. The deputy set the cooler on the table instead of the trash. He didn't let go. He glanced at the wall by the scanner. There were laminated sheets, taped crooked, fire exits, a list of banned items with clip art, a small note about medications. "Nothing about milk, lady," he said to the woman, softer but still firm. "You can pump here and dump, or take it back outside and come back without it." The toddler's lip trembled. His beanie had a dinosaur on it with one eye missing. He kicked again and one boot fell off. It spun under the conveyor. Mara reached into her blazer and pulled her bar card. The corner was bent from being shoved into too many pockets. She held it up. "I'm an officer of the court," she said. "I will personally carry the cooler inside and keep it sealed. If you have to arrest someone, arrest me." She felt her palms go damp. The deputy stared at the card, then at her face. He rubbed the back of his neck. "You can't make it legal by saying it fancy," he said. "Last week a guy brought bleach in a bleach bottle and said it was almond milk. You understand my position." "I understand rules are real," Mara said, "and I understand you poured out a baby's food on the ground." Her voice came out calmer than she felt. "Call your supervisor," she said again. "I'll wait." She looked at her watch. 6 minutes to Division 12. He keyed his radio. 23 to desk. Need the sergeant at screening. Possible medical exemption. His words sounded clipped. He still didn't let go of the handle. The cooler sweated on the table. Drops ran down and pooled in an old coffee ring. "Ma'am," the guy in the suit said to Mara, "play hero later." He smacked his palm against the bin like a drum. Mara didn't turn. She put her briefcase on the conveyor, then slid her phone into the tray. Some of it was instinct. Get herself half committed to the line so they couldn't easily eject her. She felt the heat of everyone's eyes. The sergeant came around the corner with a stack of papers in one hand and a lollipop in his mouth. Grey hair, glasses sliding down his nose. He moved like he'd been doing this too long. "What's this?" he said, and the deputy pointed, and the sergeant's eyes went to Mara's badge, the woman's cooler, the puddle on the mat. "Medical item," Mara said. "Exempt." The sergeant sucked on the lollipop and stared at the laminated sheets like he could read something that wasn't there. "We've had issues," he said. "People hide stuff in everything. If I let this through and something happens, it's my name on a report, counselor. You going to take that heat?" "Yes," Mara said. She heard herself say it and felt the space under her feet tilt. "You can write me up. Put my name on it." She slid the orange cooler toward her side of the table. She didn't yank, just a steady pull. The deputy's knuckles whitened. He held on. The toddler hiccuped. "Keen," the sergeant said to the deputy. "Go get the red stickers from the desk. The ones we use for medical devices." He turned to Mara. "You sign a form. If this goes sideways, you answer." His voice was flat, not mean. He pulled a yellow pad from under the desk and clicked a pen. A breath Mara didn't know she'd been holding went out of her slowly. Her heart was still an animal in her chest. "Fine." She raised her hand a little toward the woman. "What's your name?" "Lena," the woman said. Sweat ran along her temple. She reached for the cooler like she was scared someone would change their mind and snatch it again. "Thank you." Her eyes were glassy, but she didn't cry. She swallowed and stood up straight like someone bracing for a shot. Keen came back with a sheet of red circular stickers. He pressed one onto the cooler, then handed Mara a form. It had a grid with lines for name, item, purpose, exception. He didn't look at her when he passed the pen. His jaw worked. "Write clean." He said clerk, hates chicken scratch. Mara wrote her name in block letters. She printed expressed breast milk / medical and then signed. The sergeant peeled the lollipop from his lips and stuck it back in with a click. "You got 3 minutes," he said. "Door to 12 is at the end of the hall. Don't run." They pushed the stroller through. The toddler reached for the empty bottle rolling in the grey bin, but the woman steered him away and wiped his nose with a sleeve. The metal detector beeped as it always did. A woman behind them lifted her purse higher, like more height would fix the physics. At the conveyor exit, Mara's phone lit up and buzzed. Unknown number. She grabbed it and hit accept. "Counselor, where are you?" The court clerk's voice snapped into her ear. "Judge just called Chan. You're not in the well." "I'm 2 minutes out," Mara said. "Hold him." "You know she doesn't hold," the clerk hissed. Then a click. Then a dial tone. Then a second buzz. Another call. Her boss, this time. She ignored it. In the hall, Mara glanced back. The sergeant was putting a paper towel down over the splashed milk, pressing his shoe into it, grinding it like he did it every day. Keen looked past her to the door, jaw tight. He looked like someone who wanted to be anywhere else. He also looked like someone who would have to answer for paperwork now. "Do you know where the lactation room is?" Mara asked Lena. Her feet already hurt, and it was 8:57. Lena shook her head. "I didn't know they had one." Her voice was small and rough. She adjusted the cooler on the stroller's basket. "They told me last time to sit in the restroom if I had to." Mara veered right down the side corridor, past the vending machines with stale muffins, past the bulletin board with flyers about community service. She knocked on the frosted glass window of the information desk. No one. She tried the door beside it, locked. She knocked again. "Gina," she called. The clerk who liked her sometimes waved from inside and came to the window with a key on a purple coil. "Honey, you're late," Gina said through the slot. She pushed the key under. "What you want? Lactation room. Now." Mara took the key and moved. The room was a former supply closet. A chair with cracked vinyl. A small dorm fridge with SDF only in Sharpie on duct tape. A wall clock stuck at 4:12. The light flickered when it came on. "It's fine," Lena said, already setting down the cooler. "It's somewhere to sit." Her hands were steady now. The toddler threw his beanie and laughed like he hadn't been crying 3 minutes ago. Kids reset like that. Mara opened the little fridge. Inside, a lonely yogurt and a science experiment that had once been pasta. No ice. She grabbed a stack of paper towels and ran them under the faucet until they were cold. She lined the bottom of the cooler with them. It wasn't much. Her mind kept ticking through her day, through the courtroom clock that waited for no one. "Do you have what you need?" she asked. Lena nodded. "I'm okay." She squatted to grab the beanie, then used her sleeve to rub the dinosaur eye like it might come back. "I'm here for a payment plan. If I don't fix the fine..." They'll suspend my license. I have to drive to the hospital after. Mara paused. Hospital? Lena pulled a folded paper from the side pocket of the stroller. It was creased down like a small map. She unfolded it and held it out. It was a chart with times and checkboxes. 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 8 a.m. Pump, written in block letters with medical abbreviations. On the bottom corner was a hospital logo and a printout sticker with infant, age A, and a date of birth 2 months ago. Next to it, a plastic clip-on hospital band hung from the stroller handle. It had little teeth marks in it like she'd chewed it once without thinking. He was early, Lena said. She didn't look up when she said it. She set her jaw like she'd practiced saying it briefly to keep from unraveling. He's in NICU. He can't take formula. She touched the cooler lid with a knuckle like she was checking it still existed. I come here, I go there, I go to work, I sleep when I'm too tired to cry. She almost laughed at that and then didn't. Mara nodded. She didn't say she was sorry. She took out her wallet, found a 5, and fed it to the vending machine that always ate her bills. It took it. She bought grapes and a bottle of water, then handed them to the toddler and Lena. In case court runs long, she said. Lena's mouth opened like she wanted to refuse and then closed. Okay, she said. Quiet. She tapped one grape against the toddler's lips. He opened and made an approving noise. She wiped his chin with a tissue she found in her pocket that had already done a tour of duty. Mara set the key on the toothpaste-splattered sink. I have to run, she said. If anyone gives you trouble, show them the red sticker. If anyone doesn't know where the room is, tell them to call Gina. She pointed like that would conjure stuff. I put my name on the form. If something gets weird, say my name. They know me. Not everyone knew her. Enough people, maybe. Lena nodded again. Thank you, she said. She said it without drama. She just said it. Then she looked at the clock stuck at 4:12 and laughed under her breath. Of course. Mara jogged. Her heels made muffled snaps on the court's old tile. She slid into Division 12 just as the judge said, Chan, bench warrant is issued. The public defender at the table turned and raised eyebrows. Where were you? The judge saw Mara. She didn't look pleased. Counselor, you're late, she said, and her voice dropped like a small weight. Apologies, Mara said. She didn't explain. She asked to approach. She didn't get allowed. She sat and felt the consequence land. It was small and real and heavy in the pit of her stomach. She took out a pad and wrote the motion she'd have to file to recall the warrant. The paper trembled under her pen and then stopped. At lunch, she got called to the security office. She signed the incident report with the red sticker attached to it like a flag. The sergeant read the line out loud like it was a quiz. Expressed breast milk / medical. He didn't smile. We'll figure out a clearer sign, he said, almost to himself. He looked older sitting down. He rubbed at the crease above his nose like a habit. Keene stood in the doorway with his arms crossed. He didn't look at her. Last month, he said toward the floor, we had a guy use a baby carrier to bring in a blade. It's not. He stopped. He lifted his eyes. I don't like being the bad guy, he said. It came out in a rush like he didn't want to examine it. You weren't, Mara said. You were stuck. She slid the pad back. We're all stuck. They let that sit. He nodded once. She nodded back. It wasn't a truce. It was something like it. The next Monday, a small sign appeared at the screening table. It was printed on office paper and taped in a hurry, edges curling. Expressed breast milk permitted. DCLR at screening, it said, with a little bottle icon someone had cut from the internet and printed in grainy grayscale. A week after that, a cooler the size of a shoebox sat on the shelf under the table with a blue ice pack the size of a deck of cards. On top of the cooler was a roll of red stickers and a Sharpie with a string tied to it. Someone had written medical in block letters on masking tape across the lid. People in line kept their eyes up a little more. Gina at the info desk taped a map to the wall with a pink dot labeled lactation. She started keeping the purple key in a cup instead of a drawer. The cup had flowers on it. Someone had given it to her with fake candy canes one Christmas. She hollered less at people who knocked on the glass. Mara started carrying a folded copy of the county memo in her briefcase. It wasn't exactly Policy 7.14, which didn't exist, but it was close. An email chain between risk management and facilities about accommodations for lactating persons with too many commas. She showed it twice. The second time, the deputy on duty nodded and waved the woman through without reading it. We got a sticker for that now, he said. Sometimes, passing the screening area on the way to a late afternoon calendar, Mara caught Keen's eye. He'd give a fast, almost invisible nod. Once she saw him bend to pick up a baby's dropped hat, dust it with the edge of his sleeve, and hand it back without a lecture. He didn't smile. The parent did. It felt like a small lever turned somewhere inside the building. Weeks later, Mara saw Lena again. Not a reunion, just a passing. Lena was coming out of a hearing room with a paper that looked like a receipt and a slow smile on her mouth. No stroller. Just the orange cooler with a new strip of duct tape across the broken hinge. "He's home," Lena said when she saw Mara. She said it like someone learning how to carry a fragile thing without dropping it. "He bumps his head on everything." She laughed like a person now. They stood in the hall and didn't hug, and it was plenty. Mara still had a reprimand in her file for being late to Chan's case. She still had to chase the recall. Chan still sat for 3 nights because of it. At her weekly check-in, her supervisor reminded her that an officer had her name in a note about a disruption. "Stay off the radar," the supervisor said again. She said it like a reflex. Mara nodded. Her left heel had a chip missing from when she'd jogged, and she sanded it smooth on the sidewalk while she waited for coffee. The chip made the shoe catch on carpet. She smoothed it anyway. It helped. On a morning in early spring, the lobby's glass doors were clean enough to throw back the sky. The line was short. The security table had a stack of fresh trays, and the little cooler with the blue ice pack sweating on its lid. The new laminated sign hung more neatly, a hole punched in the top and a string looped through it so it wouldn't curl. Light from the windows caught the plastic and made it shine. As Mara waited her turn, she watched a young dad step up with the cooler, not unlike Lena's. Keen reached for a red sticker without being asked. He pressed it on like he'd done it 100 times. His hand went gentle at the last second, smoothing the edge so it wouldn't peel. Mara touched the folded memo in her briefcase and thought of the sound milk made on a rubber mat. The way it didn't splash loud so much as patter like rain on someone else's porch. She didn't want to forget that sound. She adjusted her badge on her pocket and stepped forward. The scanner hummed. The sign over it picked up the light and threw it back in a thin, soft strip across the table.